Picture this: a moonlit masquerade ball, a mysterious woman in a shimmering silver gown, one dance that changes everything. Benedict Bridgerton has spent years searching for the woman who stole his heart that night, not knowing she's been right under his nose the entire time. This is the love story that will make you believe in fate, challenge everything you know about the Bridgerton romances, and prove that sometimes the person you're looking for has been there all along. Benedict and Sophie's story isn't just about romance. It's about two souls from completely different worlds who find in each other what they've been searching for their entire lives. And the tension between them, it's going to be absolutely electric. Let's talk about Benedict Bridgerton first. He's the second son in the famous Bridgerton family. And if you've been watching the show, you know he's always been different from his brothers. While Anthony was busy being the responsible Viscount and Colin was off finding himself through travel, Benedict has been on his own journey of self-discovery. He's an artist at heart, someone who sees the world through colors and brushstrokes rather than duty and obligation. Benedict has never quite fit into the mold that society expected of him, and honestly, that's what makes him so fascinating throughout the previous seasons. We've watched Benedict struggle with his place in the world. He's not the heir, so he doesn't have Anthony's burden of responsibility. He's not free to roam like Colin either. He's caught somewhere in between, trying to figure out who he is beyond just being a Bridgerton. His passion for art has always set him apart. Remember those scenes at the Art Academy? That's where Benedict truly comes alive. He's sensitive, creative, and he sees beauty in places others might overlook. But there's also a loneliness to him, a sense that he's searching for something or someone who truly understands him. Now, let me introduce you to Sophie Beckett, and trust me, her story will break your heart before it heals it. Sophie is the illegitimate daughter of an earl, which in Regency-era England means she exists in this heartbreaking limbo. She's not quite a lady, but she's not quite a servant either. Her father acknowledged her existence but never truly claimed her. And after he died, her life took a devastating turn. Sophie ended up living with her stepmother and stepsisters, who treat her worse than their servants. Sound familiar? That's because Sophie's story is Bridgerton's version of Cinderella, but with much more depth and darkness. Despite everything she's been through, Sophie hasn't lost her dignity or her kindness. She works as a lady's maid, enduring harsh treatment and a life of servitude. But there's a quiet strength to her. She's educated because her father made sure of that much. At least, she can read. She understands music and art, and she has the grace and bearing of someone born to better circumstances. But society doesn't care about any of that. In their eyes, she's illegitimate, which means she's less than nothing. The tragedy of Sophie's character is that she has all the refinement and intelligence of a lady, but none of the privileges. She's trapped by circumstances beyond her control, living a life far beneath what she deserves. Everything changes on one magical night, and it happens in the most unexpected way. There's a masquerade ball, one of those grand events where everyone wears elaborate masks and the normal rules of society seem to bend just a little. For one night, identities don't matter. Titles don't matter. All that matters is the person behind the mask. And this is where Benedict's entire world shifts on its axis. He's at this ball, probably feeling a bit bored with the usual social games, when he sees her. A woman in a silver gown that catches the candlelight like moonbeams on water. Her face is hidden behind a mask, but something about her draws him in like a magnet. He can't look away. He can't breathe. He just knows he has to meet her. For Sophie, this night is her one taste of freedom. Her stepmother is attending the ball, and through a stroke of luck, or maybe a kind servant's help, Sophie manages to get a beautiful gown and sneak into the event. She knows she's living on borrowed time. She knows that midnight will come and her fairy tale will end. But for these few precious hours, she's not a maid. She's not illegitimate. She's just a woman at a ball. And when Benedict approaches her, she allows herself to believe in magic. When they start talking, something incredible happens. Without the weight of their real identities, they connect on a level that's pure and real. Benedict doesn't know she's a servant. Sophie doesn't tell him about her tragic circumstances. They're just two people talking about art and dreams and all the things that matter to the soul rather than society. Then they dance, and this is where the romance truly ignites. Imagine the ballroom fading away until it's just the two of them, moving together like they've known each other forever. Benedict has danced with countless women before, but this feels different. Every touch of her hand sends electricity through him. Every word she speaks sounds like poetry. He's completely captivated, totally lost in this mysterious woman who seems to understand him in ways no one else ever has. And Sophie, she's falling just as hard, in Benedict's arms. She feels seen for the first time in her life, not as a servant or an illegitimate daughter, but as herself. He looks at her like she's the only person in the room, like she matters, like she's worthy of love and attention. It's intoxicating and terrifying all at once, but fairy tales don't last forever, and Sophie knows her time is running out. As the clock approaches midnight, panic sets in. She can't let Benedict discover who she really is. She can't let this perfect night be ruined by the harsh reality of her circumstances. So she does the only thing she can do. She runs. Benedict tries to follow her, calling out for her to wait, to tell him her name, to give him any way to find her again. But Sophie disappears into the night like a dream, leaving Benedict standing there with his heart in his hands and absolutely no idea how to find the woman who just changed his entire life. All he has is the memory of her in that silver gown, the sound of her laugh, and the feeling that he just met his soulmate and lost her in the same night. 2 years pass. And Benedict becomes a man obsessed. He's not just searching for the lady in silver anymore. She's become his muse, his mystery, the impossible dream he can't let go of. He sketches her from memory over and over again, trying to capture the curve of her smile, the way she moved, the feeling she gave him. Every social event he attends, he's scanning the crowd with desperate hope. Every woman in a silver gown makes his heart stop for a moment before the crushing disappointment sets in. His family doesn't understand his obsession. How can one dance with a masked stranger haunt someone for years? But Benedict can't explain it to them. He just knows that night was real, that connection was real, and he refuses to settle for anything less. Meanwhile, Sophie has been carrying her own secret heartbreak. That one perfect night has become both her most treasured memory and her deepest source of pain. She knows she'll never see Benedict again. She knows that even if she did, he could never be hers. The gap between a Bridgerton and a servant is an ocean too wide to cross. Then fate plays its cruelest trick yet. Through circumstances that feel almost cosmically designed to torture them both, Sophie ends up working as a lady's maid in a household connected to the Bridgertons. Maybe she's working for one of Benedict's friends, or perhaps she's employed somewhere Benedict frequently visits. The specifics don't matter as much as what happens next, because when Benedict sees Sophie for the first time, something stirs in him. There's something about her that feels familiar, like an echo of a song he can't quite remember. But here's the heartbreaking twist. Sophie isn't wearing a silver gown and a mask. She's in a plain servant's dress with her hair pulled back, her eyes downcast in the submissive way maids are expected to behave. Benedict looks at her and feels drawn to her, but he doesn't connect her to his lady in silver. How could he in his mind? The woman from the masquerade was a lady, someone from his own social class. The idea that she could be a servant doesn't even enter his thoughts because society has trained him not to see servants as real people with full lives and stories. Sophie, on the other hand, recognizes Benedict immediately, and her heart shatters all over again. Here's the man she's been dreaming about for 2 years, standing right in front of her, and she might as well be invisible. She has to serve him tea, arrange his coat, be in his presence while pretending she means nothing. Imagine the torture of that. Every time he's near, her hands shake. Every time he speaks, she has to fight to keep her composure. She watches him laugh with ladies of his own class, watches him continue his search for the mysterious woman in silver, and she wants to scream that she's right here. But she can't. The rules of society are absolute. A maid doesn't speak unless spoken to, a servant doesn't have feelings for a gentleman, an illegitimate woman doesn't dare dream of a Bridgerton. So Sophie suffers in silence, loving him from a distance that feels like miles even when he's standing close enough to touch. The tension starts building in these small, stolen moments that neither of them can quite explain. Benedict finds himself looking for Sophie in rooms, noticing when she enters or leaves. There's something about her eyes that haunts him. Something in her voice when she occasionally speaks that makes his chest tighten. Let's be real about something. Every Bridgerton romance has had its obstacles, but Benedict and Sophie's story operates on an entirely different level of impossible. When Daphne and Simon fell in love, they were both from the aristocracy. Yes, they had their issues and misunderstandings, but society approved of their match. When Anthony finally opened his heart to Kate again, she was a respectable young woman from a good family. Even Colin and Penelope, with all their complications, were socially compatible. But Benedict and Sophie, their love story doesn't just bend the rules of Regency society. It completely shatters them. This isn't about pride or miscommunication or family drama. This is about two people separated by a chasm so wide that society says they shouldn't even be breathing the same air. Sophie isn't just poor or from a lower class. She's illegitimate and working as a servant in the world of Bridgerton. That makes their potential romance not just scandalous, but absolutely unthinkable. Think about what Benedict would be risking. If he chose to pursue Sophie, he's a Bridgerton, one of the most prominent families in London. His brother is a viscount with responsibilities to the family name and legacy. If Benedict married a servant, an illegitimate woman with no dowry and no connections, he wouldn't just be making an unconventional choice. He'd be committing social suicide. His family would face whispers and judgment. Doors that were always open to the Bridgertons might suddenly close. His mother, the formidable Violet Bridgerton, would have to watch society matrons snub her sons. Wife at every turn, and Benedict himself would likely have to give up any financial support from the family estate. He'd be choosing love over literally everything else he's ever known. That's not romantic in a simple way. That's revolutionary with a capital, or this is a man who would have to decide that one woman, one connection, is worth more than his entire place in society. Now flip the perspective to Sophie, and the stakes become even more crushing. She's not just risking rejection or heartbreak. If their relationship becomes known before marriage, she risks complete ruin and possibly criminal charges. Remember, she's a servant. If people believe she seduced a gentleman, she could be dismissed without references, which in that era means she'd likely end up destitute or worse. Even if Benedict wants to marry her, Sophie has to live with the knowledge that she's costing him everything. Every invitation he loses, every friend who turns their back, every disappointed look from his family, that's on her. She'd be the woman who brought down a Bridgerton. Imagine carrying that weight while also dealing with your own feelings of unworthiness. Sophie has spent her entire life being told she's less than everyone else because of circumstances beyond her control. Now, she's supposed to believe she deserves a man like Benedict. The internal battle she faces is absolutely brutal. Part of her desperately wants to claim the happiness she's been denied her whole life. But another part truly believes she's not good enough, that loving Benedict is selfish, that the kindest thing she could do is walk away and let him find someone worthy. This is why Benedict and Sophie's romance hits differently than anything we've seen before in Bridgerton. Their love story asks fundamental questions about what really matters. Is a person's worth determined by their birth or by their character? Should true love bow to social expectations, Or should it burn those expectations to the ground? Benedict has to choose between being a dutiful member of society and being true to his heart. Sophie has to choose between protecting herself from inevitable pain and allowing herself to hope for the impossible. And here's what makes it absolutely beautiful. This romance forces both of them to become the fullest versions of themselves. Benedict can't just be a charming second son anymore. He has to find his backbone, his purpose, his willingness to fight for what he believes in. Sophie can't hide in the shadows anymore. She has to claim her worth, stand tall, and believe that her illegitimacy doesn't define her value as a human. Being together, they're not just falling in love. They're dismantling every lie society has told them about who they're allowed to be and who they're allowed to love. That's the kind of romance that doesn't just give you butterflies, it makes you believe that love really can change the world, one brave choice at a time.